Welcome back to Mystara, everybody. I'm Mr. Welch, and I'm finishing off my reviews of the Basic Series modules with this week's entry, B5 Horror on the Hill. It's a multi-part dungeon crawl. It is very much a hack-and-slash dungeon, both above and below ground. Pretty much non-stop combat, but it's also got a consistent feel to it and it encourages exploration. It's famous for dropping some monsters on the party that should have been well above their level, and if nothing else, it's pretty memorable. The module was written in 1983 by Douglas Niles, who was one of TSR's most prolific writers. He gave us The Curse of Xanathar, the genre-defining Test of the Warlords, and the high-powered hackfest Saber River. His work on Dragonlance is immense, and he did the legendary Throne of Bloodstone series. Throw in Menzo Baranzan, Skills and Powers, Mastika, Lankmar, and the Dungeoneer Survival Guide, and you will realize the man's gaming credentials are almost a mile long. His love of throwing high-powered baddies at you are on full display in Horror on the Hill, so be warned, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. The game starts off typically enough in a small settlement called Guido's Fort, which is sadly lacking any decent Italian places despite the name. It's a stock location that you can stick anywhere in your setting as long as you got it close to a large river. It's not well defined, leaving that up to the DM, but it has a range of basic buildings so you can resupply and heal if you need to retreat for a bit. And retreating is very much an option in this module. This is a classic one, and you're going to be sorely outnumbered and outclassed for quite a while. You aren't cleaning out the dungeon in a single run. The game does recognize its lethality. It throws you several bones with areas designed for the party to heal and rest. Actually, for every area where you're going to be thrown into the chaos of battle, there's a small area nearby where you can recover, where the monsters won't look for you while you sleep. From a pair of doting old women who happen to be the biggest magic shop outside of Glantry, to a convenient clearing filled with magical healing bushes, to a pristine garden in the middle of a hobgoblin hideout, with the prerequisite magic fountain the TSR was so fond of. Then if you come across a peaceful and pristine setting that seems way out of place in the dungeon, congratulations, you've just reached a save point. The main and most obvious threat in the game is the Hobgoblin Camp. They are amassing to attack Guido's fort, and then you need to take out the boss to stop the imminent invasion. It's an assassination disguised as a dungeon crawl, so tell that to the paladin if it makes him feel any better about himself. So if you're going to be stabbing a lot of hobgoblins, and I mean a lot of them, they act in unison, they go on patrols, they notice if patrols start disappearing. They're smart and they're numerous. A full frontal assault earns you a TPK. The party is going to have to use tactics of their own to whittle down the hobgoblins to manageable levels. Ambushing patrols and framing it on the other residents of the island is one way. Attacking stragglers and leaving no trace is a tactic that can keep the hobgoblins hiding inside their fort, terrified of what's killing them off. Eventually you are going to need to try infiltrating, but again stealth is key. In Beckme, hobgoblins are very much one-shot mooks, but in 5th edition they are extremely well armored. Enough hit points to make one-shotting them impractical. Patience is key. You need to turn this module into a mook horror show, picking them off one at a time until you're ready to go in. Once you got a level or two under you from picking off the stragglers, you can actually take the module on in full force. Most of the monsters in the first two dungeons are just hobgoblins and goblins, pretty standard fare for low-level adventurers. Hack through the hordes, free any prisoners you encounter, grab up the loot, and sabotage the hobgoblins where you can. Remember to set up ambushes while you rile up the hobgoblins, because they are going to be pissed. And when you're done cutting down mooks, go after the big bad. The charm of the module is the Goblin King is not the final boss. There's actually a secret dungeon beneath the first one that you'll find when you finish off the chief. It's actually an ingenious way of extending the adventure. You take out the boss, think the adventure's over, and suddenly you're in a whole new dungeon that you know nothing about. There's a reason why TSR kept giving Niles a job, because he was just so good at them. The bonus dungeon is a meandering affair with a lot of random monsters, and of course including one of the safe rooms so you can rest up. There's no plot to the second dungeon. You're lost and you're just trying to get out. There's a lot of monsters down there that just live in the dungeon. They're looking for something to eat, but it's not a secret plot. You just have to cleave your way through the monsters, find your way out, all the while grabbing up what is quite a bit of nice loot. There's a lot of magical stuff in this dungeon. The third level of the dungeon starts to resemble more of a proper dungeon with more monsters who are actually easier than the first two levels. It's actually a bit of a relief from hacking down all the hobgoblins and random nasties to face a tribe of kobolds. The module has been a grind so far, so you're lucky to finally get to this level. Enjoy the cakewalk for a change, because it's not going to last. Spoiler, there's a dragon, a real one. Yes, somebody put a dragon in a module for levels 1 to 3. No, he's not friendly, he's hostile, and you're going to fight him. Niles is famous for putting in monsters well above what you'd expect for the level you're playing. And what's the last thing a party of 6 level 3 characters is expecting in a basic level modules? A red dragon. Now it's a tiny dragon, but it can still TPK the party quick if they're unlucky. Told you this module was going to be memorable. Now if you take the dragon down, you don't have to kill it, because you can beat it senseless. Then you're going to be the richest third level party in D&D history. The dragon has a horde, not a big one mind you. He's not Smog, but he's still a dragon. Remember, this is Beckme when beating dragons into submission was just a large part of the rules. That actually ties in well with the 5th edition submission rules, so the last blow isn't deadly if you don't want it to be. Now, the module is a little pricier than some of the earlier basic modules on the secondhand market. It's not too bad. You're looking at about a $30 price range for this secondhand. I've seen it go for as little as $20, but $30 is a fair price because it didn't have the print run like the older ones. The PDF will set you back $5 if you want to get in that one. It's a moderately sized module coming in at 30 pages, and it's nothing but adventure, so it makes it worth the price. Turning this module into 5th edition is tricky because the hobgoblins are lethal in 5th edition. You're going to have to pare down the numbers for some encounters or just tell the party to watch themselves, because this one's a toughie. It's hard to die in 5th, so the threat isn't that bad, but the party does stand a good chance of getting mauled in most fights. Hobgoblins are a lot harder to hit, and they got plenty of hit points in 5th edition, making them a bit of a grind. You're going to have to turn the dragon into a whelp if the party has any hope at all of surviving. If you want to spend the $1.50 and get the conversion guide from DM's Guild, it'll save you the conversion time. That's Horror on the Hill. This is going to be one of the shortest ones I've talked about because, well, it's a really short module. I mean, it's just a dungeon crawl, and I'm not going to spoil it by giving away all the details except for the one obvious one at the back. I mean, it's a straight-up dungeon crawl. It's got a surprise dungeon at the end. It's a classic D&D module because when you think you're done, there's a twist, and then there's a sudden, unexpected fight at the very end. It hits on all the cliches of the old dungeon crawls. You've got the magic fountain. You've got the magical, serene, safe spots that you can heal despite the fact that you just killed 15 hobgoblins in the next room over. The outside of the module is a bunch of hills and paths, which actually plays like an above-ground dungeon, so that was a very nice touch. So yes, it does all the cliches of the old dungeon crawls, but it does them well, especially with the safe areas, because that really helps the party not die. This is the module I'm currently playing in right now over on RPGMP3.com with Hal being the DM. So if you guys want to watch that, I'll post up the links below. So if you've been listening to this and you're part of the group, that's Tim and Becca and Leah and Nick, and now Aaron, I guess. Shame on you, you're spoiling the surprise. I've played this module several times, I've run this module several times, so I know what I'm expecting. That's why I didn't go into a lot of detail on this module, because I didn't want to spoil it for the rest of the party. That caveat out of the way, next week we're finishing off the B series with Journey to the Rock, an outdoors basic level module that has multiple ways to play through. In fact, you can play it several times and get a different result each time. So until next time, remember you can't weasel your way out of map making duty with the words "not to scale."